Welcome to No Shame in the Home Game, the podcast that cares how your home feels, not looks. I am Lacey, and I am the Manifestor talking today. We're going to be doing a Sarah and Lacey recap discussion after we talk to Adriana with human design. So I'm going to invite our projector into the conversation. Hi, Sarah.
I am so excited to see you. You are the best part of my day. So today's already been an adventure as with life, because life is an adventure, is it not?
Very much is. It is something. Whether we like it or not, it is something.
Whether we like it or not. Today we're talking about Adriana. She is the human design coach, which connected Lacey and myself. And as I was driving home from an impromptu pediatrician visit with my son, I was thinking of my human design and my projectorness. How is this going to affect me? Like Lacey said, she's a manifestor, so her energy is very different than mine as a projector. I need to schedule a lot more downtime than I currently do.
Can I tell you, I'm so envious that you can schedule your downtime. I don't know when my downtime is. I don't know when I'm going to have these spurts of energy. Like yesterday morning, I was sitting down doing some morning pages, trying to journal. I follow a Manifestor's community page, and they talked about, and this is something that I had never heard of before, but I found it online, your cognition. So this is like the sense that you are most in tune with and how you best take in information. And mine is feeling, which... not surprised about that. I'm like the biggest feeler ever, apparently. Everything's like emotions and feelings. The recommendations were to get away from screens. And we've talked many a times about how I love to be a digital person. So I was trying to take a step back and be more analog. So I'm physically writing in a journal yesterday. And I had this aha moment. And I really was running with some stuff. Sarah got a frantic voice message from me. I started making stuff in Canva. My kids are like, Mom, are we going to play?
When inspiration strikes, it's like a wild horse. And I feel like, I imagine you just have to hold on and you have no idea where the wild horse is going to go, when it's going to slow down, when it's going to stop. And it's just like, nope, I'm on this wild horse and I got to go as long as I can until it's done. And then you're right. The wild horse just stops wherever. And then you're like, oh, yeah. I guess I'm here now.
Yeah. I'll rest. Maybe I'll walk to the next destination. I don't know. I am envious of your ability to schedule downtime, which is really funny because this very much aligns with my illness of I never know when I'm not going to have energy and when my fatigue is going to be a problem and all this stuff. And Joe and I joke that it would be great if we could schedule my crashes. We could better plan around them. Like last night, poor Joe was supposed to go play D&D with his friend. And then maybe because I exerted too much energy in the morning, I passed out. He literally was about to leave and he just said all of his stuff, got stuff together for him to be able to remote in so he could still be home. And it was like, I was trying.
The wild horse just dropped you.
The wild horse. Yeah.
Oh,
down.
That is so true. And a reminder to anyone listening who has no idea what we're talking about. I always explain human design very quickly as it's like a user manual for yourself. You know how in a manual where there's that first page, it's like quick setup. To me, it was a quick setup of how do I operate best? There's a lot of these are not optimal for you. And yes, when Lacey gets an idea because of her manifestor energy, she doesn't know when it's coming and it goes wild. And I love watching it from the outside. It's really fun. And I don't have that creator energy. And that's why I started working with Adriana, because I burned out with my business because I was trying to do parts of my business that are not in my natural skill set. If anyone's going, I thought this was about no shame in the home game, let me do the connect for you, which is, I always say, I'm a broken record. Your neighbor's house cannot be run or managed like your house because we all have different goals, different resources, different everything. And human design for me really shines a light on that. I see the management of a home. I see how it can be organized. I see solutions, right? And the people who hire me can't see that. And I learned that's part of my projectorness. I think of it as more as I can see. Imagine there's a really complicated maze and it's like I'm the third eye. I'm like standing above it and I'm looking down. I can see this. Go here, take a left, take a right. And versus some people are inside of
Yeah.
it and can't see it. And again, your neighbor's home, if somebody has that generator energy and they're going to be scrubbing their toilets 3 times a week, that's not going to be the same for you if you don't have that same energy level. And that's okay. No shame. You got to work with what you have, right?
Absolutely. This is something that Sarah and I have talked a lot about, of that she and I both feel like we had been conditioned for generator households, and generators make up like 75% of the population. Our world is scheduled and built for them and their sense of energy. And the unlearning that I've been doing about what is conditioning and what is real and what is actually needed has been huge for me. Even just now, that analogy of the horse and realizing that I struggle with my manifestorness because I want to schedule it. You can hear I'm like realizing, oh, that's right, I can't schedule it. I am still trying to push that and I shouldn't be. And it's just about living with ease. The goal of No Shame No Game is figuring out how to live with ease. It feels very woo, or I don't know, like it's witchcraft or that kind of stuff. But there are, as a manifestor, my throat center is what my most predominant feature. Hence why I love doing a podcast, because literally me talking. But the idea is that I am supposed to speak out loud what I want, and I am supposed to put it out into the world. And I'm going to have a hard time saying this out loud, Sarah. But I have what is considered like a divine connection to like the needs of the universe. And that I have to honor that and then use my intuition and pull forward what is being told to me, which in sometimes it's magic, because this all started because I was working with Sarah on something and she sent me really the home CEO outline, right? And I was reading it and I had this moment where I was flooded, and I believe I just came back and I was messaging Sarah and I was like, Sarah, this is bigger. Sarah, this is important. This is something that needs to be out in the world. It's more than just a course. It's all these different things. And that's what came up. That's how this all No Shame the Home Game started. So even though it feels unnatural for me to be like, feels self-important, but I have had so many moments where I'm like, oh, I think this is what that is. And this podcast is an example of that.
I think that's beautiful. And when I hear you say, oh, it's the self-important, or you're trying to walk it back, that's that conditioning. Adriana said from day one, and she said it throughout the whole course, so much of human design is finding out what you're doing in your life that's not working, and you're doing it because you were told at some point. Somehow society imprinted in you to do X, Y, or Z, and it doesn't feel great. And that's when we don't show the best side of ourselves, right? I can even hear saying, my human design is this, but then you're trying to walk it back. And that's conditioning saying, don't get too big. Don't try to call attention to yourself. Make yourself small. That's that conditioning. And likewise for me, why we are here together is because working with Adriana, learning my design is not going to be a content creator. That is not natural to me. It's very exhausting. And so that's why I hired Lacey. I love sharing my work with people, but not everyone can hire me one-on-one. And I don't have the stamina to work one-on-one with a lot of people. So this is Lacey's strength, the communication, putting together visuals. Okay, yes. And then she said, oh my goodness, I want this to be bigger. And me, I was just along for the ride. Okay, I do too. I don't have the energy or the vision to make it bigger, but you do. So tapping in, and again, this comes back to home management, tapping into people's strengths. Maybe one person is really good at planning the meals and making the grocery list, and maybe another person is really good at making the food, right? To this point, I had a booth and I was engaging with people and saying, what is your least favorite home management task? And I cannot tell you how split it was. There was no, if you were to do a bar graph, no one bar was higher than the other. They were all about the same because I kept putting the answers on the table on Post-it notes, and people would walk up and they would read somebody else's. Why would somebody hate vacuuming? I love vacuuming. That's ridiculous. Why would somebody hate dishes? That's my best time of my day when I can. There was no universally loved or hated chore. And just like with our work, it's finding out which one of us has the natural skill set. And whether or not you want to believe in human design or not, that's fine. But for me, yes, I have found so much about myself that I already saw, but it shined a light on it. For instance, my entire life, people have been asking me if I'm a teacher. I joke you not. Since I was in high school, oh, are you going to go to school to become a teacher? Nope. When I was in college, oh, are you studying to become a teacher? Nope. I can't even tell you how many times. And I rejected the concept of being like a K through 12 teacher simply because I do not enjoy disciplining. So much of teaching is actually not teaching. It is managing a classroom.
Classroom management.
Which I'm not fond of. And then I learned part of my design is teacher. And I'm like, oh, I do. I love sharing information and knowledge and explaining it in a way that makes sense to people. So I was like, oh, I am a teacher, but just not the way you think of a K through 12 teacher, which God bless teachers.
They're amazing.
God bless teachers. I always say, I don't know how they do it. However much they get paid, it's never enough.
Generators, manifesting generators, they're magic, in my opinion. So you hear us talk about my mom all the time. Carolyn's a generator, friends, and she generates. What I enjoyed learning too from Adriana is that when you have someone who is a generator with that sacral center, it does rub off on you. And that has been a huge aha moment for me, because when my mom and dad come over to help me with things, I do more than I ever do. And it's because I'm feeding off their energy. So we need you, generators. We love you. We need you.
Everyone's important. And it's so important to value how we are all different, what connects us and also what highlights us. And the world would be very boring if everything was samesies. So celebrating what makes us each unique, highlighting those things, unlearning what society has told us. When I think about that whole phrase when you were a kid, like, you can be anything, you can do anything. I really don't like that. I really don't. Because yes, you can, but certain things are going to take a lot more energy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, yes. And I think that as you're talking about it, it's like you can, but you don't have to be. Yeah. It's so hard because it's a dichotomy and the answer's in the middle. Have you seen the meme that's like a kid doing some kind of content creation and someone's like, no, we don't need more content creators. We need plumbers. And there is truth in that. I wish that we could all be different, but same value to each other.
Yes, 100%. I wish we could see the value. When I was young, I internalized that message of you can be anything as, and you better be at the top of that mountain, versus you can be anything, find what you do best, and then go do that your best, and you'll be valued for whatever you choose.
My oldest nieces are, one is graduated, another one's graduating this year. My career up until this point was mostly in higher education and academic advising. I love those conversations, but I always preface them with being, I don't need an answer. I don't need a specific answer. I'm asking out of curiosity of what you want, not for you to tell me that you want to be X. I use myself as an example all the time of, yes, it would be very convenient if I would say, I want to be a nurse, so I'm going to get a nursing degree so I can become a nurse. Or I want to be an engineer, so I'm going to get an engineering degree. I like talking, so I picked communication. That's literally why I picked my major. And then I fell in love with it academically and took any experience that I could. What I would tell my students and what I've told my nieces is, all you're doing is setting yourself up to move forward in a path. As long as you're doing that, you are being successful. As long as you're taking the opportunities that you can, you don't have to have an endpoint in mind. You just need to focus on setting yourself up now to be able to get to an endpoint in the long run. Because at the end of the day, there is no endpoint. I've been many a things. Sarah has been many a things. I worked in a jewelry distributor's office. I worked for movie studios. I worked for mental and behavioral healthcare recruiting. I've done a lot of weird stuff, but I enjoyed trying it all out. Did I feel like a failure during it? Absolutely. But I've set myself on a path and it's working out okay.
Yes, I think it should be more of try something and explore. I love that. I love that idea of a gap year between high school and college.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're at a shifting point in our society because it used to be you sign up, you work with a company, you're with that company for your whole life. That's how health insurance got to the way it is today. And now it very much is, oh, you work in this job. Oh, I like this aspect, but I wasn't great at this part. Okay, let's try this other thing. And I think that's how we will find where we can best serve society, but it's not rewarded with your retirement plan and your insurance plan. Those two things aren't lining up. I will do a plug. I tell everyone I know going to college or in college, this book called Design Your Life. It was written by two professors. They were doing this course for their students. It became so wildly popular that they wrote this book and this course, but it's looking at all those different aspects of, okay, I like medicine, but I don't necessarily like interacting with people. Okay, then you shouldn't do medicine where you have to face front with people. Maybe you go into research. Maybe you go into being a medical administrator. Finding your unique design. Oh my gosh. Designing your life is very much human design. It's finding those unique things fills you up versus drains you. When you were talking about going here and going there, I had a cousin who came to me. I don't know why she came to me because I don't have a career path, but she came to me after she graduated.
Because you seem like a teacher.
Oh, I graduated with this degree. I'm doing this, but I don't really love it. And I don't know what to do next. And I said, yeah, you don't have to know. I said, all you have to do is pick that next rock that you jump to and you stand on it and you look around. And then from there, you pick your next rock if you're jumping through a stream. And yeah, and she's now doing her residency as a doctor, which is not where she started. She tried things out and that's where she ended up versus a college roommate I had who from high school always said, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. We went to college. She went to medical school. She did her residency. She became a doctor. And she was like, I don't want to be a doctor.
Oh.
But she had been saying it for so long. Then she had all the bills and she had no choice. Like she had to keep being a doctor versus my cousin who found her way there. She was very much the older student in her class because she didn't come straight out of undergrad. But she intentionally tried things on and was like, oh yeah, I want to go that way. So you do you, man. Just be who you want to be.
And I think it could be very easy to be like, why are they talking about this stuff? But this really is the underpinnings of home management. It's how you live your life and what you value and what's important to you, and letting go of those made up rules and expectations that were designed for somebody else, somebody who doesn't exist. Like someone said I saw something on TikTok the other day that was like, clothes are not manufactured for people. They are not meant to fit you. They're meant to fit a mannequin, not you. And so the more that I think about that in a lot of different ways, it's, oh, This was set up not for me. It was set up for an amalgamation of what a person should be doing. Now, granted, there are some hard and fast rules when it comes to safety and hygiene and that kind of stuff. But beyond those, made up, man.
Yeah, it's that cookie cutter, which is from the beginning. I've said my approach to home management is from an inside out perspective, not an outside in. And that was what was hard for me of talking about like the clothes being made for mannequins is when I would read, because I love manuals. That's part of my jam. I'm like a rule follower.
Manuals are not rules. Manuals are not rules. If there's anything that I've learned, I did a poll. Instructions, not rules. Instructions are not rules, Sarah.
Okay.
The people spoke. It was like 90% said instructions are not rules. I need that to be very clear.
Okay, there's like an earthquake in my soul, so I'm just going to set that to the side for a minute. So when I would read magazine articles, or Martha Stewart was really big when I was coming up in age, and I would see that's the way to do it. But it didn't work for me, so it felt awful. So yes, our approach with Home CEO is from the inside out. Okay, look at what's going on in your house. What do you want? What are your resources? What are your goals? It's not that outside in. It's not the mannequin close draping on you. It's you looking at your own measurements and, oh, this is going to fit perfectly because I made it for my needs and what I need to do, which feels so liberating. And going back to the unlearning, one size fits all approach, which still trips me up. I still catch myself and I'm trying to help other people out of it, but I'm still unlearning myself of different things and I'm trying to be okay. Because really that joy, you don't set up 10 elements in your life and then you feel joy. It's you find the joy and then work on those 10 elements, but the joy is there regardless.
As you were talking, I was realizing like, oh yeah, we're trying to set up what we were saying about every home being different, but all the value being the same. That's the underpinning of everything that we're doing. We just want sunshine and rainbows and for everyone to be happy in their own way.
But let's pause there because joyful support movement is very much about realizing it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Absolutely.
But enjoying the sunshine and rainbows when they're there, but also acknowledging you stepped in dog poo and you got to somehow clean the bottom of your shoe.
Multiple things can be true at the same time.
I love our conversations because you just never know where it's going to go. Oh, it's that wild horse. It's that wild horse analogy. I love order and rules. It makes you feel very safe. But I also love what's going to happen, letting things unfold. I also love like the randomness of our conversation, but I want it within the safety. I would never just show up at an airport and go, where am I going to go today? But
that just gave me chills thinking.
But I would pick a country ahead of time and fly to a country, not having an itinerary and then letting things go from there.
I don't know. I don't know.
No?
So, no, I don't think I could do that. It's so funny because, like, we'll go on vacation or trips, and I don't plan down to the minute, but I need to know we're going to go here this morning, then we'll find a place to eat, and then we'll go here in the afternoon. I need some kind of structure, or I won't leave the hotel. So that's where, and this is something I've read before, is structure actually creates room for creativity because you're able to not think about certain things. So again, multiple things can be true at the same time. You can be creative and structured. You can be spontaneous and planish.
Oh my goodness. Dovetail to season 2 participant Teresa, which we are currently recording but has not been released yet. She doesn't want to be hemmed in by a schedule, but there's so much freedom that it's leading to chaos and confusion.
Oh, I feel that feel it to my soul.
Yes. And I was trying to explain, if you have a framework, it's just what you fall back on. You don't have to do it. And as you were talking about the vacation, I was like, if every minute is planned out ahead of time, I would lose my mind. But if I knew there were options, you don't have to go on that 10:30 tour, but it's there if you want to do it. If it's overscheduled, I wouldn't have fun, but I see what you're saying. And I think when you're traveling in a group, which is, again, home management is so important because the more people you have, the more opportunity for chaos. If I was traveling in a group, I would at the very least have to know, where are we sleeping every night and where can we get food at regular intervals. If I'm traveling by myself, I can be a lot more flexible.
That's different, yeah. So my whole life, my family has gone on a big family vacation every summer. So it's my mom's whole side of her family, aunts, uncles, cousins. Obviously, it's grown over the years. It's now like 40 people who stay in the house every year together. And so that was my experience of traveling. And then sometimes with just like my parents and my siblings. And it wasn't until I went on a trip with friends that I was like, oh, this is a very different experience. Because in those situations, we knew the flow, right? We knew when things were happening. Just because we had done it for so long, the norms were already established. We knew how the days run. It was spring break my senior year of college, which is my only one wild time in life. So that's also probably part of it. But I just remember being like, oh my gosh, leaving for dinner is impossible. Because everyone's in one spot and then one person wanders away to find someone else and then that person comes back, but then that other person's gone. And it was like herding cats. And that was my big aha moment of, oh, this is very different. This is very different.
And that's a great through line to connect it back to No Shame in the Home Game and the Home CEO, which is every group needs a leader. Not everybody wants to be a leader. No, sometimes nobody wants to be the leader, but you're right. Like there needs to be a designated, this is the plan. Or like you said, you all end up walking around in circles for 45 minutes and you don't get anywhere. So I grew up, to your point, one side of my family, the patriarch grandparent was military. And we would push back, we would laugh, we would tease about how regimented things were. We would get itineraries. We are meeting in the lobby at this time. We are departing at this time. We'll be it was very, and we would always be like, ugh, why does it have to be so scheduled, right? That family member passes away and then you miss something when it's not there. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, nobody stepped up to be that role. So we are now starving and it's 2:30 in the afternoon and we can't figure out where to eat.
Now, here's a question that I have, Sarah. People have always seen you as a teacher. Do people look to you to be the leader?
No, I've noticed that I'm a really good assistant manager. Again, going back to why I never wanted to be the teacher because I don't want to manage a classroom. I do not enjoy the dynamics of tell people what to do. I'm trying to make everything work. And I think a really good leader and manager in a way has to keep the eye on the prize of, nope, this is the objective. So I'm more of a good assistant manager where that person can be making the tough decision. And then I can help execute because I've been in a managerial role a couple of times and I just despised it. And I was like, oh, I have so much respect for managers. Not everybody's meant to be a manager and I am not a manager. So no, people don't look to me to be the leader, but what I do know is my strong skill set is, again, seeing the systems and the way things should unfold. And that if a manager or leader is really good, they'll notice that is where my strong suit is. But I try not to insert myself when I'm not the leader because that's part of my human design is I get bitter when I'm not heard, but I have to wait for the invitation to speak. And I notice this a lot with my family. I see solutions, but I can't just tell them because then if they don't do it, I get bitter. So I've learned how to say, and I just did this with you before we started our call.
You did.
I said,
You did.
If you would like to help problem solve X, let me know. I would love to help you. I've learned I can't just insert myself. I'm not like a take charge dominant person. One time I was working on the cruise ship and I had to step in and I ended up being the manager. And I was like, this is not fun. You're having to disappoint people and upset people and you're having to be a hard ass. And I was like, this sucks. But I will be the assistant manager. Have you ever been a manager or are you the leader?
If there is an informal group, I'm always the leader. I don't try to be. It just happens. If you're in a training or something, they're like, all right, pick a spokesperson. Always me. I was the kid, like when a teacher would ask a question, I could have very easily been the one to always raise my hand first. But then I learned to not do that and be quiet. But then if no one answers, I will always be the one to speak up. Like I can't not answer the question. What's really interesting is I've never actually been a manager. I've always been a informal leader. My last role at the university whenever I worked, I had no direct reports, but I was technically in charge of leading like training and development for a community. So I was seen as a leader of that community, even though I didn't have any formal leadership authority. And that's really where I thrive. I'm not directly in charge of anyone, but I can use my voice to direct us into a pathway. I do think my human design, so I'm a manifestor, throat center, talker, all that kind of stuff. There's another part of your human design that's the cross of rulership. I am meant to rule. That I'm my best leader when I'm like listening to other people, but it literally says you are meant to rule. So, I mean, do I think I should rule the world? Maybe my human design says that I am. I don't know. It's interesting to think about because Joe even was talking about he's in a managerial role. And I even had that thought of, I've never been a manager. But man, I am always a leader.
Oh,
it makes me sound like I'm supposed to be a dictator. I could be a dictator, but I will be more successful in life if I'm not. And I've joked, I don't want Joyful Support Movement to be a cult. But then I joked with my family the other day of, I feel like if I needed to, I could start a cult. Like, I feel like I've got the right skills and attributes that if I tried at it, I probably could.
I want to say I can see that because I get withdrawal symptoms when I don't hear from you for a while. Like when I got a voice memo from Lacey on Sunday morning, I didn't know what it was about, but I was over the moon because we usually don't do work stuff on the weekends. And I was like, I get a hit of Lacey on the weekend. So the cult leader thing, I think we got to really be careful with you because you're very dynamic. I'm drawn like a moth to a flame. I want to be in your energy. Maybe you having chronic fatigue syndrome is a good thing for the world.
It really is in everyone's best interest. I would just be too powerful. Earlier, when we talked about how there have always been very high expectations for me. I wasn't most likely to be successful. I was second for that, which just feels like such a joke. But just, it's like whenever people talk to me, they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to be successful. And it's so intimidating. And there is this thought of, am I not living up to my potential? Am I not doing enough? Should I be doing more because of that? It all goes back to maybe that's my human design in action. It's people feeling that part of my aura and whatnot.
Oh, that's so interesting. I would encourage you not to be hard on yourself because you said maybe I'm not living up to my potential. And I'm more looking at it as that adventure. You jump to that rock and, oh, what can I do from here? And then you jump to the next rock. Why would you already be at the top of the mountain? Part of my human design, I felt very relieved was, can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially breaking my life up into thirds. And the first third of my life is really going through some shit, which check. The second third of my life is really processing that. And then the next is sharing what I've learned and helping others. And I just read a quote the other day, which to me summed up Joyful Support Movement, which is, you go through pain, and if you don't help others with it, then the pain was for nothing. Let that pain journey be a benefit. Like I say, everyone's going to have to eat a shit sandwich. And I'm like, okay, I've eaten it. I figured out how to eat it and it not be so bad. And now I'm going to help other people. When I was going through my ordeals of life, eating my various shit sandwiches, it's just, where do you share that? Where do you show up and not be draining your friends or your family or be paying to see a therapist every single day, 24 hours? Going back to that joy ripple, like, we just want to help people enjoy life because it's not always easy. And let's just share what we've learned.
And not be a cult leader while doing it. That's a big part of it for me, not being a cult leader.
Wouldn't that be funny if that was your handle? Not a cult leader.
Oh, I like that.
That's funny. We're going to put in safety checks, like safety boundaries to make sure we don't, not we, you. I would just be your follower. I'm a great second. So I would not be in charge. I would be guilty by association, but I would not be the leader. I would make sure everyone felt really good.
Yeah. So you would enable me, essentially.
100%. 100%. This is why we really do need somebody in our group. We need this to be a triad. We were talking about how our homes are run and me realizing I can see it, but I'm not a generator, so it's hard for me to do everything. But one thing I did learn through the human design was that I thrive on specific compliments. I read that and the inside of me lit up like a pinball machine. So I keep telling my husband, I love specific compliments, because he'll be like, you're the best. And I'm like, no, specific. Like, that is my fuel. That is, that's my hit of feels goods.
I don't remember what my design says. I struggle with compliments in general, but do I want them? Absolutely. I need to know that I'm doing a good job. I need the validation, but I also am so uncomfortable when I get the compliment. So it's very challenging to know what to do.
That doesn't sound very cult leader-ish. I'm sorry. You're just like, maybe that's our safety check. Wait, I think I've told you this. My son, he also has a hard time with compliments, and he'll go, praise accepted.
It's like in a kitchen when someone yells out an order, you're supposed to yell heard back or something. So that's what I've started saying to like Joe. Just be like, heard, thank you.
Heard. That's so funny. I'm just glad that we got to get together and laugh. I hope people listening get something out of this.
As long as they get that they get to be their own person, there's no one right way to do things. How you were made is okay. Really, that's the biggest thing that human design gave me, is it gave me permission to lean into things that I always secretly felt, but never did. So like, I always loved the idea of being a writer and having my days be what I need them to be and like sitting down and writing. But I was like, no, that's not possible. And so now I'm in this place where I'm like, am I supposed to lean into this creative lifestyle that I never thought could be mine? I have to. My illness a bit, but hearing that these things that were part of me that I was making smaller was not only a part of me, but my superpowers in a way has been really validating for me. And I said this to Adriana many times, that like, human design came to me the moment that I needed it. I started with my human design journey right before I got sick, and it has really helped me during this time of, okay, no, rest is a part of my design. It's also a part of my illness. There is an element of permission that I have never had before. Ooh, that I love.
That's what it is, an element of permission. Because I too found it exactly when I needed it. I was going to have to fold up my business because I could not sustain it, but I love the work that I do. So I too found it and was like, oh, okay, these are the parts that drain my energy. I should restructure my business so that I can maximize my voice. And then also giving myself permission. As a projector, I'm supposed to rest my brain a lot. So I actually can produce more the more I rest my brain. And yeah, I feel like I have permission. And also gut decisions. That was re-listening to Adriana's episode. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to make decisions with my gut. And it really works. It actually really works out. That just reminds me, I have been using my brain to figure out my next computer, and I should be using my gut.
Use that
Use that gut, girl.
I'm still mastering my decision making.
What's yours?
I'm an emotional person, the solar plexus, so I'm supposed to wait for the excitement to die down. And it's very challenging for me.
Actually, that's so funny because when I knew that about you, and when you came back with Home CEO and you were all that wild horse energy, and I said, okay, let's wait 48 hours.
It's so hard. Yeah, that's something I want to look into more in this Manifestor community that I've started to become a part of, is learning from other emotional manifestors, because it feels so counterintuitive, right? My energy is because I'm excited. I'm excited because of that feeling, but I'm supposed to wait to take action. But I want to take it's a little bit of a dance. So I'm figuring it out.
Once I started utilizing it and I saw how well it was working, even when you came back to me with Home CEO, I was like, yeah, my gut says there was no hesitation. So you're right. But I'm also unlearning, because growing up, my gut decision was not encouraged, and I was encouraged to think things to the nth degree, as I love to say. My sister and I joke all the time. There is a right decision, and if you think hard enough, you will get it. And it was exhausting, and I got a lot of illnesses because of it. And then going and unlearning that to go, I got to learn how to listen to my gut. It's all a journey.
It is. It is very much a journey, and it's so interesting. That is something I realized early on in life, and it's something Joe and I talk about. There is no right answer. There's only the answer that you choose.
Somebody needs to hear this today, because I just heard that. I was trying to come up with a decision about something that was going to take a lot of energy, and I was asking some friends for guidance, and one of my friends came back and said, there's no perfect decision. And I was like, oh, that's what I needed to hear. I forgot about using my gut because I keep forgetting. And I was like, oh yeah, there's no perfect decision. Yeah, there's just the decision.
And if it's quote unquote the wrong decision, then it's a lesson that you learned. Something happens either way. So now I just want to be very clear. I say that, and I don't know if I mean it fully. I don't necessarily know if I feel it all the time.
Oh yeah, my coach, when you just did that, for those listening, because this is a podcast, Lacey touched her head and then she touched her heart. And my coach talks about that all the time. We can understand something on such a mental level. We can read that book. We can hear that saying, whatever. But to embody it, that is a completely different experience. And you might have to learn something 100 times before you start to embody it.
Why don't we do a quick moment of gratitude, because we have to go to Costco. Joe has today off, and we're going to go to Costco together. And I always love any day that Joe and I have together where it's just the two of us and we go like run errands. I just have the greatest time with him on those days. And today we're about to go do that. And I am so grateful for it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Happy errands.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. This is going to sound weird. So my kid went to the doctor this morning. He's got a fever. We can't go anywhere because of germs. I'm actually thankful because we're going to snuggle up. We're going to finish up some baking shows that we started. I like the permission. It's like an adult snow day. Nope. You got to just hunker down and make the most of it and just enjoy being at the house. We'll do some baking together this afternoon. Oh, I'm really relieved. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm also thankful for my tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Can I
got
see
a
it?
tattoo last week for the first time. Yeah. Now I'm like,
that's so exciting. Oh,
it's in honor of my grandparents. I got it with my cousins and my aunt. We designed it together, and it's just so special, and I love it. And my son is being so funny with it. First, he was like, this is the first time I've gotten a tattoo. Joe doesn't have any tattoos, so it was very new. And his response was, when I get older, I'm going to do that. I'm like, okay, bud, when you're older, that's your choice. And then I explained to him what it meant, because it has a fishing hook my grandfather was a fisherman, and so that's the part for him. And then it goes into the fishing hook line is in the shape of a rose, and it goes into a whisk because my grandma loved roses and was this amazing cook. So it's just this piece on my body that I can look at and remember. So I told that to Isaac, and he's now started like looking at it, and he'll go, I remember them too, Mommy. Or he'll look at it and go, I love them too, Mommy. It's brought me a lot of joy in my 3 days that I've had it. So.
I love that. Oh, that is so beautiful. I love new tattoo energy.
This comes out the day before my 35th birthday. Happy birthday to me, because this is going to be posted March 8th, I believe. My birthday is on the 9th. I'm going to be 35. Can you believe that? That sounds so much older than 34. Why does it sound like I'm not bothered by it? I need to be very clear. Aging doesn't really bother me. I think it's because I was the youngest and have always been the youngest, so I will always be the youngest in so many ways. So aging is like, meh. I'm still the youngest no matter what.
Happy birthday, Lacey. We're thankful you're here.
I'll try not to be a cult leader. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Lacey.
Thanks for listening to No Shame in the Home Game. We hope you can take a little nugget to use in your own home. Remember to subscribe to the podcast in your player of choice, like us on social media, rate and review, and share with all of your friends. You can always visit joyfulsupportmovement.com to learn more about No Shame in the Home Game and the other Joyful Support podcasts. While you're there, you can join the newsletter or sign up for the Joyful Support Village. Now go out there and spread joy.